All right, man. We're on, but there's always this delay between me going live on here and then being able to click go live on Instagram. So I think we are officially live everywhere now. So welcome, Tim. Welcome everyone out there to Chicago Landlord Seekers, where we're coming on here live every single week here on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. So wherever you're checking out, hopefully you'll tune in weekly or share this with people. But if you do miss, you can always find the recording on any of these platforms, the recording, and you can also share that as well too. So, and if we do have resources, the comments will follow with it as well too, that we're putting down into the comments. So, Tim, man, what's happening? How's it going this week?
What's going on? It's a good week. I got a good weekend coming up. I got at Juliet tomorrow that I'm taking my wife to, and then Savannah Bananas on the weekend. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. But I'm excited.
Where are they playing? Are you going to like their stadium?
Wrigley.
Oh no way! They're playing at Wrigley. When?
Yeah. This whole weekend. So they start. I have tickets for Sunday's game, but it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They're here.
Wow, that's awesome! You think you can still get tickets? Like that would be an amazing thing. I watched them on TV a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, it might be possible secondhand for sure. I know. I mean, they sell. You gotta. This is my second year winning a lottery to being able to sign into the Ticketmaster. I mean, it's not Ticketmaster, but what they use for that. Last year I won, but I still wasn't able to buy tickets because I think like I wasn't in line fast enough. This year I got the access code and got in. So they're a hard ticket to go, but it's I haven't been, but just watching them on TV, it looks fun as hell.
Yeah, no, I have been. I don't know where I was at last week. I caught him on TV, and it's crazy everything that's going on. It's awesome. Yeah. So man, if I'm going to actually look up tickets here today, and then if not, man, you got to tell me how that goes.
For sure. Speaking of events, I know I haven't seen the push from MBOA. I got a few emails from my contacts and the MBOA organizations I'm part of. But August 6th is the big soiree coming up in a few weeks. I just want to bring that up and see if you're going, see if Tom's going. What I know we were all there last year. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I dropped the link there. We are going. We are a sponsor, and we are actually going to be recording a podcast episode there. So we're going to get a bunch of people, in these little 5-10 minute clips, and then I love the MBA to death, but I love going to this event and enjoying it. And they asked us to work it, so but it'll be a good event. We'll get some good people on the show, and we'll kind of do a clip episode for upcoming weeks. So that will be cool. But man, I do look forward to it, and I'm super excited about that. And I've invited a bunch of people, and I did put a link down here for MBOA Chicago if you're going to get your tickets.
Awesome. Yeah, I will be there. I will not be. I'll be there as a guest, not working. So I'll be there to talk to everyone and shake hands and kiss babies, all that stuff, and have a good time. But no, last year was the first time I went. It was a ton of fun, and I think I ended up closing it out with the cigars they had from what brokerage was that sponsored? I forget the brokerage that sponsored the cigar bar, but we were all in the outside area until like 11 p.m. and they kicked us out. So it was good times.
That venue, so it's up in Ravenswood. I believe it's 6 to 9 or 5:30 to 9, something like that. But I just put the link in here. You go on there. Tickets are what you're paying for when you get tickets is really you're helping the MBOA. This is a fundraiser for them, and they use those funds to go and work on behalf of everything that Tim and I talk about on the show. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about these new laws, and the people that are behind the scenes fighting it are people like the MBOA, and they're using legal approaches. They're using publicity or what's the word I'm looking for? They're using people that will make it loud and big and make sure everyone hears how it's going to really affect people. So, please check it out and support MBOA.
Yeah, and we're going to dive into that in a second here. Both some lawsuits happening and some also the competing law to the mayor's pro. But I know you got another event next week really quick. If you just want to introduce that and throw the link in that you're hosting some landlords in the cave or in the underground, whatever you call it nowadays.
I do. The underground, but it is under construction. I was saying underground, it's under construction, but I'll put a link in there. We have next Thursday, we're doing a mastermind really around maintenance and AI, but it's going to be for owner operators. So if you're self-managing, or maybe you have your own management company, just manage your own portfolio, love to have you out here. We're going to talk a lot of AI, how AI can help maintenance, and we're going to talk about just kind of the ins and outs. So, and then at night, we're going to have a second event that will be around a dinner, and it's going to be for third-party property managers. So if you're like me and Tim, or maybe you have you're thinking about getting into property management as a third-party third-party property manager. That might be a good event for you as well too. So I'll put the link for both of those in on the comments here.
Yeah, we talked about it last week with Alejandro, and I've talked to him via email. So thanks for reaching out, Alejandro, and we're staying in touch. These events, both the MBOA and anytime that you get to talk to other landlords, I think that it can become super overwhelming if you're trying to take it on your own, and having that tribe that you can go to once a month or once a year or whatever, a big party with the MBOA, but there's all the little events through the MBOA every month, depending on what area you're in and stuff. That's totally worth it. But let's jump into some news. So we now have, so last week and the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about Mayor Johnson's protecting renters ordinance. Alderman Villegas, I hate that I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, but I think I got it close. Is now sponsoring a bill that we don't have the full text to yet, but it's being worked on, called the FAIR ordinance, which is Fair Accountability in Rentals ordinance. So we got the PRO, which is pro renters, and then the FAIR, which is supposed to be fair to everyone, ordinance. But from what I can see, they haven't published everything. We don't know exactly what it is yet. We'll keep you guys updated on it. But the main thing for it is it's getting rid of it. It's supposed to be similar to the PRO, but get rid of the just cause eviction, get rid of the relocation costs, and get rid of the fee for the rental registration. Are the three main things it's championing. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it is. I said this earlier. I said, maybe they come out really hard as a negotiation just to get something passed when all of a sudden I'm actually happy if it passed right now without those couple of things that you said they're stripping out, because those were the scary things that were really, I mean, at the end of the day, those things were going to screw owners, make it more difficult to do business, but they're really going to hurt the tenants. So if you're going to talk about pro, it was very opposite being pro renter in that sense. So, the revised version of, for what I know of it, it's something that I could live with. And I think in the end of the day, they're going to pass something, or they want to pass something, just because they've been talking about updating the Chicago CRLTO for the last 5-6 years. And hopefully something like this comes up. But as far as timing goes, you mentioned this earlier as well too. Nothing will probably come of it till maybe end of the year. And I imagine if something does come from it, it probably would not roll out to maybe mid 2027 at that point.
Yeah, I mean, so the first part, yes, unfortunately, and there's still a lot to change. The way that the PRO Act is written currently, it would start January 1. But just like we saw with the Illinois one, right? It was passed on legislation that was written 8 months before, and then they passed a counter bill that moved it to Jan 1. I think that they would have to give us time as landlords to sort of adjust and to fix everything, to move forward with the changes they're doing. So I can't see it happening that quick. But yeah, I think that they're not going to vote on this until October. And now there's 2 bills they're going to vote on. So I'm sure in October, when it comes back, they're going to start to combine these bills. And that's really the goal, I think, of the aldermen that are against pro and putting this out, is to say, hey, we're not saying just vote no and we're not going to do anything. We're trying to give you a compromise. And so I think we're going to see a few months of the aldermen going back and forth and trying to come up with a compromise bill. And there'll probably be a third bill at some point that sort of merges the two.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see. Stay tuned.
Yeah. Interesting article I found. Speaking of losses, we're talking about the MBOA and where that money goes, right? Like they have really good attorneys at the MBOA that try to fight some of these laws that are technically illegal. Pasadena just had one. So as you know, California, New York are generally the first ones to pass some of these, in Oregon nowadays, some of these tenant first laws. And Pasadena, which is an LA County town, had a loss very similar to what Johnson is trying to get passed here, where you have to pay relocation costs if you raise the rent too much for a tenant. And it just got struck down in California's Supreme Court. So that's another thing that Chicago and the mayor is going to have to reconcile with, is is what they're trying to pass even legal, and will it hold up to court cases? And the MBOA is going to have someone on it pretty quickly, between them and Carr and the apartment. I can't even name it. There's another organization that's pretty big that helps with a lot of these lawsuits from the landlord's defense. So that's going to be a big one. It's already lost in California. So hopefully we'll lean that way.
Yeah. Geez. All right. So yeah, that's kind of crazy too. So I don't know. Some of it's discouraging, but at the same time, I just feel like it is what it is. And I never want to be that person that just is standing in a way of or being bitter about change. Cause I can do what I can, and we all can on this call, but at some point you just have to accept it and figure out how to do business.
Yep. No. And hopefully that means, hopefully we won't hit a point where I think the worst thing that Chicago could do is make it to a place where there are no landlords, right? Because, and this is what I don't understand is as many laws as you create for renters, they're not doing anything to help build things. And we can beat this dead horse, but we need more properties built. We need more laws that let people buy homes easier, and things like that you could protect people. And then they don't have to use a landlord if they don't want to. A lot of people choose to rent because they don't want to worry about having to pay for a new roof or having those big expenses, or they might only be in the city for 5 years for work and then they're going to leave. So I think giving people a choice is a huge opportunity that Chicago's missing.
Exactly. I hear you. All right, man. What else you got going on?
Cool. We were talking about earlier, we had a meeting with a couple of property management companies, and we were talking about leasing season. And I just wanted to bring that up for everyone, get your opinion. But I think, man, we've COVID sort of destroyed the normal leasing season for us a little bit. And I'm feeling these last 2 years, it's back to normal. So I think we should remind everyone what that sort of looks like, and that, the prime rental season that we're in right now is slowly starting to come to an end here in the next 30 or 45 days. And if you're still priced too high, you're going to lose out. Yeah. What's your take?
Well, here, I think you had the market crash. A lot of people that listen to this or I talked to never went through the downturn, but after the downturn, the whole world was up in arms and unemployment, transferring for jobs. So the leasing season was very untraditional up until about 16, 17. And after that, you started to get, it used to be your season. It was March, and it really hit a dead stop at Labor Day. And up until 16, 17, you were going to October, you could still be confident. And, it was really that November, December you just want to avoid. But the last few years, it's just, so then COVID hit, and then everything got all chaotic again. So it threw the whole leasing seasons, all the traditional people that ended leases in June, all of a sudden were putting in 2020, they went to October. So you had a couple weird years there as well, too. But last year, man, it hit a wall for operation. I believe we had 40 or 50 places on the market in going into September, and we hit a wall fast. And it's July, and I was talking with my team. It would have been July 22nd this week, and we were talking about, hey, we got 30 days basically, and we have 54 or so on the market right now. We have another 40 or so coming on. It's like we got to get all these. What has to happen to make sure we get all these leases going into September? Because what happens is it just becomes such a level of stress. And that's for us as an operation. It's for anyone listening out there that's got 1 or 2 units. Man, it sucks when you're just hitting your head against the wall trying to get people to see your place without just dropping the price.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's usually what it is. And what happens, what people do and what we try to make sure our clients don't do is chase the market down. So it's like, all right, you're trying to rent it for 2,000, but now September hits, and it's like we should drop it to 1,900, but maybe you should just drop to 1,800. Now all of a sudden, end of September hits, you're like, maybe we should drive 1,750 or whatever. It's like should have probably dropped 1,700 at that point. So people chase the market down in the fall, and that's what if I'm going to give any feedback, just try to get everything leased up now. And if you do get into, you maybe have a move out in August, make sure you're not chasing the market. Price it right.
No, I think that's huge. I was listening to our friends at Evernest have a podcast. They're more of a national company, but they have a podcast. They're talking about leasing all over the country, and their data points show that the more price drops if you price it right the first time, you can rent in 2 to 3 weeks. But when you leave it on the market for a month and then price drop it to that what would have been the correct price, you're still not getting that same market shift that you would have gotten if you adjusted faster or put it at the right price the first time. So being high, people see things when people go on Zillow and they see something that has been sitting for 3 months because you had an unrealistic expectation as an owner on pricing, and then you come back down to a real price, you have like a stank to that listing or a mark on that listing that people still don't want to see it. You almost have to come down now under market because you waited too long.
Yep, exactly. You have to overcorrect almost.
Yeah, so I think it's huge, and I think we're at a point now. At least I know both of our companies use software that can tell us, hey, this is, we're looking at a national level, we're looking at an inner city level of how many showings you get, et cetera, and you could do it on your own too, just by looking at how many people are sending you emails, how many showings are you doing, how many apps are you getting, and have those benchmarks. And if you're not getting it right, you got to adjust fast. Within a week or two of listing it, the faster you can make that adjustment, the more money you're going to make.
Yeah. So along the lines of leasing, though, I will tell you this. We were working with Property Shield, and they basically track fraud, and you can hire them as a property manager, and they basically in the background they're running searches all the time to make sure that your property at 123 Main Street, no one else is taking those pictures, taking any words, taking any verbiage, and reposting it on Facebook Marketplace or somewhere else, and running some sort of scam. Ultimately, you'll end up with a squatter in your property. So, but talking to them, the fraud has been up this year for the portfolio they manage, percentage wise. So this first 6 months, 2026 versus 2025, is up like 20%. And the one thing that they keep telling everyone to stop doing is if you got rentals, don't put them on Marketplace. And now they're even seeing an uptick in Zillow scams as well too. So just be careful if you're listing your own properties. Scams are out there, and some of these suburbs are some of the biggest ones getting hit. I'll find the article, and I have the top suburbs that are actually the big problems.
Yeah, let's talk, since you brought that up, let's talk about a little bit sort of how you prevent that. Obviously, I don't think there is a way to fully prevent it because these guys are getting so good at it. But having watermarks on photos, having something that shows that you're the management company is a huge one. But I'll let you explain it because I stole it from you. But I know you guys have signs inside the vacant units that tell the potential renters that, hey, this property is managed by you guys, and don't pay Tom or whoever you're talking to money over the phone to try to apply.
Yeah, it's a great way because all these scammers, it's all you call or text somebody that's not local, and they'll find a way to get you in the property one way or another. Maybe they have somebody that is local, they're working with. So I don't know how they exactly do it, but there's people that show up at your property with getting permission from somebody else, and sometimes a realtor even gets pulled into the scam as well too. But if they see the sign, so our sign specifically says, if you saw this on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, you're being ripped off. Please call this number right away. If you've been asked to Zelle money anywhere, you're being ripped off. And we have that posted right on the front door, and we have it around the property as well too, inside on the fridge and so forth. So at least that's another layer of defense that can help you if somebody is trying to scam you. Because most of the time, these people these scammers. It ends up being too good to be true type scenarios where you might be marketing for 2,000, market's 2,000, but they throw it up there for 1,750, and somebody looking, they're like, "Holy cow, that's a great deal!" And they jump all over it, and I don't want to lose it. I'll send my money and all that stuff. So they get you that, and sometimes as a tenant, you forget that thing that your parents told you. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. Moment until in hindsight. And then, then you have an issue. So just kind of keep that in mind. That's another way you could do it.
The other one we ran into, luckily we didn't run into it as property managers, but we now have a new client because they ran into it and they don't want to do that again. So they signed up with us. But a scam where the scammer is actually seeing the property, applying, they make money, they do everything well. They pass the credit check under their social, under their pay stubs. But as soon as they sign the lease, they're giving the keys to someone else. Have you seen that one?
Yeah. I've heard of that. I haven't seen it happen, luckily.
So be on the lookout there. I mean, those really, it comes down to making sure that you're getting the right like that the social, that the IDs match who they say they are, that the socials match, because these guys are getting to a point where they have they found someone's social that's going to give them a 670 credit score, 700 credit score, and they found, they have the pay stubs. A lot of the ways we've caught it in the past where, is, do these things make sense? As bad as it sounds, if someone's making $300K a year, they're not going to rent your $800 apartment.
Yeah. Or I've seen it where it's they're selling their house, they're going to have cash, and they show the address of the house they're selling, and it's $1 million house, but they're moving to back of the yards neighborhood to rent something for $1,500. It's like your house is literally in like a class A suburb in Michigan. You're going to go rent this place that, it's just the common sense factor. Or a lot of times, like the reason they want to move closer to work. It's like, well, you're actually closer to work now than you are moving. Like,
right. So I tell my team that does the application and screening and stuff like that, you always want to make a story and just make sure things check out and that they make sense. Like we get the question a lot of someone applies, they have no credit, where it just doesn't, it checks off that their social is correct and everything like that, but they have literally their credit score shows that they've never had a bill in their name. You got to, so I teach them follow the story, right? If they're 19, 21, or 20, and they're in college, that makes sense that their mom's paying for everything. If they're 55, there's probably something fishy going on if they haven't paid their own bills for 30 years.
Yeah, right.
So I think that's a huge one.
Yeah, no, it is always. So I do look at applications as guilty to proven innocent. And it's our entire like motto is like, look for the red flags. Like, don't ever assume, a lot of times what landlords do a lot, and I've done this in the past myself, is you have this piece of information and you have this piece of information and you assume in the middle. You actually make up your own story of like, oh, no, that's probably, you probably had a rough year. It was COVID, and maybe it's like, no, ask him. Ask him straight out. What happened in 2020 that you had this, and it might be you got divorced, and it might be something totally different. So I definitely don't fill in the blanks yourself. Let the other people fill in the blanks for you.
Yeah, and that's the key to believe it or not, to HUD's guidelines that they came out with last year, is to be able to don't just look at something and say yes or no. Ask questions. That's what they wrote. It's like, hey, you saw an eviction. Ask them about it. If I personally, we don't really take tenants with eviction pass, but we will talk to them. And if it was something where it's like, yeah, I got evicted and I was 19. And this is what happened, and I lost my job. I had this and this go wrong. We might look into it more. But just asking those questions, I think, becomes a huge factor of like, all right, what can we show that has changed?
Yeah, because sometimes you do have people that have evictions that they might have co-signed, and don't get me wrong, that's a bad decision. But again, it might have been 7 years ago. It might have been for an ex-boyfriend or whatnot. And sometimes it's your story. Now, don't get me wrong. You don't take it for the word. You show proof. Like, all right, that's fine. Can you grab that lease? Show me you co-signed. Maybe show me the paperwork you have. And now I've had other things where people they've applied, and they've evicted. If they have an eviction, they turn around like, I'm so pissed. I didn't know this happened. It was their first apartment. They've applied for it. So I've seen, I've ruined people's days in that sense, unfortunately.
So that reminded me of a situation I just coached someone through a couple of weeks ago that I think is good to talk to everyone about. A landlord it was two roommates. Roommate number one apparently starts turning on roommate number two, and roommate number two moves out, and roommate number one stops paying, is being a bad tenant, and you want them out, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's huge. A lot of landlords go, okay, well, the first tenant moved out. I can't do anything with them. Like, I just have to focus on this tenant too. And to me, because of all the rules and laws and everything that we have to go through, I think it's more important to focus on the tenant that moved out, because they are also signers on the lease and fully responsible for that lease, even though they had drama and moved out. And this works for boyfriend girlfriend too, right? You rent it to a boyfriend and girlfriend, they break up, and the boyfriend is the one living there, but he's not paying.
Yeah.
Or whatever. our strategy for that, and I'm curious what your strategy is we go to the one that moved out and go, hey, if I have to evict them, you're on that lease. So I don't want you to have problems renting somewhere else for the rest of your life because of an eviction on your file. How about this? How about you go talk to them and you go do whatever you have to do outside of us to get them to move out. And if you get them to move out, we will cancel your lease. And you have nothing to do, nothing, blah, blah, blah. And that's our strategy. I'm curious what you do in situations like that.
Yeah, it's similar. The person that's got nothing to gain and everything to lose always is the leverage point. It's similar with the, we took on the last couple of years probably more personal guarantees than we have in the past, especially around in Cook County, in suburban Cook County, because it used to be where you can, it's like, all right, you're questionable, pay a couple months rent or pay first and last month's rent. And now you can only really cap it at a month and a half. And we just didn't like that. It just didn't make us feel good. So we will ask for that. And again, then there's just scenarios where it's like, man, we want to work with you. You got like a 2.4 times the income. Can you get someone on there just to co-sign? Like we're pretty confident because we can't, if we're going to follow our standard, we can't accept it. So we have accepted a lot more, but in those cases, that personal guarantee is the person that's got nothing to gain, everything to lose. And that's super valuable.
Have you had, so I know, and this was a while ago, but I've sort of lived by it because I just haven't had any other data points, but have you seen a cosigner have you seen anyone be able to hold a cosigner accountable?
Well, they get wrapped into, yeah, for sure. I mean, they get wrapped into the collections case. They get wrapped into if it went to eviction, but usually hey, Mr. Cosigner, guarantor. Now, I don't know if there's any attorneys out there that want to correct me. I don't know if is there a difference between cosigner or guarantor? Like I use those synonymously.
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I know what I'm talking about. Like maybe like it was like 10 years ago or so. There was a case in Chicago where the judge didn't hold the cosigner responsible because it wasn't the renter or whatever that was being evicted. So it became sort of an interesting case study for me. But I guess if you're going more so on the collection side, that hopefully it would hold and you can report to their credit, I guess.
Now I've seen a lot of people. You have to have, I don't know if you have it spelled out, but I know on our website we put out, if you are a cosigner or guarantor, we have strict standards for that person too. And a lot of times they're like, can I have a cosigner? It's like, yeah, sure. It's like, and it's like, whoa, that's not going to work. That person's just as broke as you, or that person can barely afford what I think they're trying to pay for. So make sure, I think we have our cosigner has to have 5 times 5x income of our rent, just to make sure they can account for whatever they're living and then our living. So
I'm gonna have to write this blog post, Mark, because I didn't know the answer either, so I Googled it. But so a cosigner technically has the legal right to live in the property, whereas a guarantor is only financial and doesn't.
I guess that makes sense. You're the main person, and then maybe the wife's also a cosigner, also assigning. So if anything, guarantor is the right word for what we're talking about then. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. All right. You learned something. There you go. You got a blog as well too there.
There you go. What else you got? What else is going on in your world?
Well, just trying to get through, for us, for the company, we're going through our quarterly next week. But just trying to wrap up everything with leasing. We're rolling out some AI around just taking maintenance calls, 24/7. Just having more of a digital answering, not digital, but an AI answering versus, someone having to deal with a phone tree to get to where they want. So we'll see how that works. It's summer's coming fast to an end here. So I'm only thing that's good about that is football season.
But this is training camp starts this weekend. So this is the last week without, there won't be games yet, but this is the last week without football news. But I feel like summer definitely snuck up on us because June was so cold that I felt like we missed some of summer there. Maybe we'll get a longer summer with September being warm, but we'll see.
Have you had any? We had a couple tenants complain about, and they had health about the fires, about their smoke. I'm sorry, the smoke that's been kind of settling over here from the Canadian fires. They're basically saying that one was complaining that their window was not sealed enough because it was getting through, and they're right. I mean, it was in their right. It was just an old window that was not. I said, well, here we could go to. We ended up putting some plastic on it, but it's like I could replace it, but by the time we replace it, and hopefully the fires are gone, or you're gonna have your window open for a handful of hours one day. That now that smell is gonna get in. So. We did have that, which was kind of that was a new one for us to kind of set up. But we treated almost like it's winter, where you're trying to keep the cold air out, the plastic over the window.
No, we got lucky on that. Not too many complaints. I did see another PM in Chicago post that someone called in saying that they smelt fire and wanted someone to come and check it out because they thought their house was burning down or something, or called the fire department. So that's definitely someone that was not watching the news at all, but. No, it was bad for a few days, man. I didn't even want to go outside with the smoke and the fog and all that stuff. So I can see them being upset with that. We did have a tenant maybe a couple months ago call us because bugs were getting in, and she thought that her window was like not working properly because bugs were getting in it. But she didn't realize that it was like our tech went and she didn't realize that the window was open from the top.
Oh no!
so yeah, that would affect you if you have the window open. So that was an easy. Luckily, that was an easy fix. But that's just a funny work order there.
Yeah, that's man. That just kind of reminds me of like when you get the everyone's so hot and they complain it's so cold, and then the boiler's too hot, and then they end up opening the windows, which totally defeats the purpose of everything you're trying to do with keep it heated. So,
very cool.
Yeah, nice, man. Well, anything before we wrap here?
No, I think we're good, man. Hopefully, we'll see everyone in the next few weeks. Obviously, we'll be. I'll actually be with you next week in the underground, reporting back, and we'll do it live. So we'll have a little bit different of a view next week, and then
right. I forgot. Yeah, we're gonna do this live in person next week. So. My guy Matt has actually been getting everything set up so he can we can do it, and then Javier, my guy in Mexico, is actually going to be in town next Thursday as well too. So everyone here under one roof. So all right, guys, stay tuned. So next week's a big one then, I guess. Then we'll have Pablo here as well. Have him join in with us, and a fun episode next week to do, and on the road. And man, Tim, thank you as always. I appreciate you be my partner on this, and thank you, listeners. I know we've gotten some great feedback. Please make sure you keep sharing this or sending the recorded version to anyone that you think could benefit. So, Tim, thank you. Everyone else, we'll see you next week.